Hey everybody, it's Emily at ARG Schooling, and today I wanted to give you guys some summer reading recommendations. I haven't done recommendations in a while, so let's do some recommendations for summer reads. When I think of summer reading, I think of like stories set during the summer or stories that are just like really fast paced and that you can just like get lost in. So that's kind of what I'm going for. These are the vibes that I'm looking for in a summer reading recommendation. Just, something that I can kind of get lost in and that just feel really breezy and light and happy and feel good. So not all of these are going to fit that. I'll get into that later, but for the most part. So the first recommendation I want to give is the one I read the most recently, and that is The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. This is a graphic novel, and it is just very sweet and wholesome. This is a story set in a not specific time period in France, and we're following a girl named Frances who is a seamstress, and she's trying to make a name for herself, and she gets hired to be the dressmaker for Prince Sebastian. And so he's hiding the secret that he likes to wear dresses and dress up in these amazing gowns, and they become kind of this like amazing dynamic group that people are just like, oh my god, I need to have clothes like this too. So it's a very sweet story. I just loved the characters. I loved the art. I just thought it was very immersive and fun, and I just thought it was very sweet and wholesome, and I want to read more things like this. Next is a middle grade that I've talked about before, but I feel like it makes a good summer read, and that is While I Was Away by Waka T. Brown. This is set during the summer, so it feels like a good summer reading recommendation. This is a story that is like a memoir about the author's childhood, and she was sent to Japan to live with her grandmother for an extended summer where she was supposed to be going to school and learning to be more fluent in Japanese and getting more experience with Japanese culture by living there. And I love stories like this. I love memoirs, specifically like middle grade memoirs. It's like one of my favorite things. And I just loved the way she's immersed in this culture that she knows about but hasn't really experienced firsthand, and like the whole like what school is like in Japan and making friends and getting to know her grandmother better. And I just thought this was such a great story. I already purchased her newest book, Dream Annie Dream, and I haven't had a chance to pick it up yet, but I'm like, it's at the top of my TBR because I loved this and I want more things like it. So this is a great story and perfect for summer. And because I loved that so much, I wanted to find something else similar. And so I read Tokyo Ever After by Amiko Jean. Another perfect summer read because this is very light and fun, and it's actually a romance, which I did not know going in. I should have, but it didn't occur to me until I was like a third of the way in that, oh, I'm reading a romance novel and I'm enjoying it. This is a story about a girl who is just turned 18, I think, and she's graduating from high school, and she's never known who her father was, and her mother's been very secretive about it and elusive and not really wanting to tell her too much information. And one day she discovers that her father is the crown prince of Japan, and now she finds out she's a princess and wants to explore that part of her heritage. And so she goes to Japan and experiences life with the royal family, which is a lot more than she bargained for, and she falls in love with somebody, and it's just very sweet, very fun, fast-paced, very immersive. Like, I want to visit Japan and experience all of these things firsthand, but obviously I'm not a royal. but I just thought this was a really fun book. The sequel just came out, and I really want to get around to reading that sooner than later while this is still fresh in my mind. But I just think this is a really fun summer read. Next is another book that you guys have heard me talk about before. It was even a book club pick a couple of years ago, and that is The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. How can I talk about like fun summary reads without bringing this one up. This is one of the like most heartwarming, sweet stories I've ever read, and I don't read that kind of thing very often. I feel like a lot of the books that I tend to love are books that hurt me in some way. This is the opposite. This book made me so happy, and it felt like a hug. It's like set in a fantasy world. This is a story about a man who works for like the social services department for magical children, and he's sent to go and find out what's going on at this house because they think that maybe these magical children are up to no good, maybe there's something bad going on, and he needs to investigate it. And so he meets the man running this house for these children, and the children in the story are just like the most wonderful little creatures. We have a were-Pomeranian, we have the son of Satan, we have like a little garden gnome. Like, it's just delightful. This book is delightful, and I want to reread it sometime because I just want to like experience that feeling again. I want to read more things by T.J. Klune because I feel like maybe most of his books are like this. I don't know. He has a new book out too that I haven't gotten around to getting my hands on yet. I think Sarah has it, so I might have to borrow it from her and read that. But I think this is a great summer read because it's just so comforting and sweet and happy and breezy, and it's a fast-paced story. You're gonna like fall into it and not be able to get back out for a little bit. It's great. My last two books are maybe not the normal recommendations for summer reading, but like, I don't know. I want to talk about them. First, I want to talk about A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. This is technically horror. I just felt like this is such a wonderful, immersive read, and I just like wanted to stay in the story for longer. This is sort of possession story, or more like, is it a possession story? I don't know. I don't quite know how to explain it without giving things away. But this is a story about a family whose daughter seems to be possessed, and they are trying to figure out what to do about it, how to deal with it. And they end up hiring a camera crew and making a TV series, like a reality show about this family, and things don't go as planned. I love this. It's a story about sisters. It's a story about like someone unraveling what really happened to them when they were a child and dealing with the aftermath of a bad experience. And I just found it to be really immersive, and I did not want it to end. I just thought it was a really great, fast-paced read. I think it's great for summer. If you're not into the heartwarming, fluffy stuff, this is a great summer read for you. And the last recommendation I want to give is one of my favorite books I read this year. And I just think, while again, it's not your normal, like, fast, fluffy, heartwarming kind of story, it's a really great, heartwarming story nonetheless, and that's Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary. If you haven't read this yet, you need to read it. It's just such a good story. Even if you're not sure you like sci-fi, I promise it's worth the read. And if you can get it, listen to the audiobook, because the audiobook was spectacular. Like, literally my favorite audiobook I've ever listened to. I just can't imagine not hearing those voices now in my head if I were to read this again. There's a movie they're making for this, so I think you should read it beforehand so you can get the full experience. This is a story about the world might be ending. They need someone who can save the world and protect it from the bad things that are coming. And so the main character wakes up and he's out in space, and he vaguely knows that he's supposed to be doing some kind of world-saving thing. He doesn't remember though, because he wakes up with like no memory of why he's there or what has happened. And so he is unraveling like what's going on, why is he in space, what exactly is he supposed to be doing. And as he's unraveling that, I don't want to give anything too much away, but he makes an encounter. And this book is the kind of sci-fi that I love. It's science fiction. It's got a lot of like real world science in it that kind of goes over my head, but it's also very like heartwarming, happy, like making contact with other species, but like in a nice, pleasant way, and not so much in a, oh, we're in danger kind of way. I just loved this story so much, and I think it's a great summer read because, like I said, it's very immersive, it's very fast-paced, it's very, like, happy and heartwarming, even though this is an apocalyptic event we're dealing with, and like normally that would be very dire and sad, but I liked that this went a different direction. And I don't know, Andy Weir's writing is just very fun. So those are my recommendations for a fun summer read that might be something different and not the usual recommendations for summer reading. I don't know. I tried to give a good mix of things from science fiction to fantasy to horror to graphic novels to middle grade, so there's something here for everyone. I hope I've recommended something that you might want to pick up and try. Let me know down below, what is your favorite summer read? What are you looking for in a summer reading recommendation? Recommend me something. I would love to see some ideas for things that I should pick up this summer. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Happy reading. Bye.